Welcome back, Focus Learners. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for today's explainer because, wow, we are connecting some truly fascinating dots today. We're going to look at macroeconomic banking data, dive deep into the cognitive neuroscience of poverty, and finally, bridge all of that into some very actionable wealth-building strategies. It's a powerful journey taking us right from understanding a massive systemic problem all the way to finding personal empowerment. So grab a notepad and let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this with a quick roadmap. First, we'll hit the paycheck-to-paycheck reality. Then, how hardship rewires brains, and examine the punishment learning trap. After that, we'll look at systemic fixes for cognitive health, compare active versus passive income, and finally, wrap things up with breaking the financial cycle.
Section 1. The paycheck-to-paycheck reality. To really understand the cognitive toll of financial stress, we first have to grasp the sheer scale of the issue. Looking at 2025 internal data from the Bank of America Institute, nearly a quarter, that's 25% of all households are estimated to be living paycheck to paycheck. Think about that for a second. Literally 1 in 4 households is just a single missed paycheck away from immediate distress. That is a massive, massive baseline of everyday anxiety, and it really sets up the systemic issue we're dissecting today.
Now, while the overall growth of households falling into this cycle has actually slowed down a bit since 2024, the pain definitely isn't distributed equally. Lower-income millennials and Gen X, they are feeling mounting, accelerating pressure. The number of these lower-income households living paycheck to paycheck continues to rise, while, on the flip side, higher and middle-income households remain almost completely insulated from the squeeze.
Section 2. How hardship rewires brains. So what does this chronic financial pressure actually do to a person? Well, I found this absolutely fascinating. An October 2025 neuroscience study published in Frontiers looked at how disadvantage literally shapes our cognition. And this brilliantly illustrates how they tested it. Researchers gave 95 students a probabilistic reversal learning task. It's kind of like a game. Participants chose between 2 shapes on a screen to win money. One shape gave them a 75% chance of winning, the other was the exact opposite. The goal was simply to see how efficiently these individuals optimized their behavior based on positive and negative feedback.
Now, to really understand the results of that study, we need to define a critical term they used: punishment learning. Basically, this is a specific cognitive pathway where you modify your behavior to avoid adverse consequences. Like learning to slow down after getting a pricey speeding ticket. What's crazy is that it's handled by a completely different neural substrate in the brain than reward-based learning, which is when you repeat an action just because you got a positive outcome.
And here is the mind-blowing distinction the researchers found. Low household income all by itself, it didn't actually predict changes in these learning pathways. But material hardship, meaning tangible everyday deprivation like food insecurity, lacking medical care, or unstable housing, that uniquely rewired the brain's punishment learning rate. It's the concrete, physical experience of scarcity that alters human cognition, not just a low number on a bank statement.
Section 3. The punishment learning trap.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what happens when this learning pathway gets altered. When we look at the trial-by-trial accuracy of participants compared to their financial realities, a real trap emerges. Those facing higher material hardship developed a heightened sensitivity to negative outcomes. In the game, if they picked the right shape and hit that random 25% chance of a loss, their brains completely overreacted to the punishment. Instead of sticking with the statistically advantageous choice, this hypersensitivity caused them to prematurely abandon their winning strategy.
Let's break down exactly why this happens. Immediate deprivation creates intense perceived stress, specifically amplifying reactivity in the amygdala. Essentially, the brain gets trapped in survival mode, and when you are in survival mode, you become hyper-responsive to losses. It totally obstructs your ability to engage in long-term, goal-directed behavior because, well, you're constantly reacting to immediate threats right in front of you. And the researchers noted something huge. Among all the hardships, housing instability was the absolute strongest driver keeping people locked in this reactive state.
Section 4. Systemic fixes for cognitive health.
Because this cognitive impairment stems from tangible deprivation, researchers argued that the solutions absolutely must be systemic. Just supplementing income alone isn't going to cut it if people are still experiencing the daily trauma of unmet basic needs. To actually foster neurocognitive recovery, societies need comprehensive safety nets. We're talking housing stabilization, expanded food assistance, universal healthcare access, and guaranteed utility support. By ensuring environmental stability, we can actually pull the brain out of that hypersensitive survival mode.
Section 5.
Active versus passive income. Okay, so we've looked at the systemic traps, but how do we address this on a personal level? A fantastic guide from Concrete outlines how to build real resilience. But first, to invest, you need initial capital, right? Well, a recent McKinsey insight reminds us that human skills will matter more than ever in the age of AI. Putting your unique human skills to work is exactly how you generate the initial active income required to kickstart your wealth-building journey. So the crucial point is really grasping the difference between how you generate money. Active income is trading your time and effort for a paycheck, whether that's an hourly wage, a corporate salary, or freelancing. The big limitation: the income stops the very second the work stops. Passive income, on the other hand, is money earned through systems or investments. It scales up without requiring a proportional increase in your own sweat and effort.
Building passive income is ultimately how you escape that survival mode trap we discussed earlier, and Concrete outlines several highly accessible streams to get there. You've got real estate and real estate investment trusts, or REITs, which let you earn rental income and capital gains. There are dividend-paying stocks, acting as a silent business partner, or even creating digital products and online courses. Now, sure, these all require upfront time or capital, but once they're established, they drastically reduce your reliance on a single active paycheck.
Section 6. Breaking the financial cycle.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual actionable plan. Concrete outlines a cohesive 6-step blueprint to replace financial anxiety with total stability. It starts by honestly assessing your current skills and resources, and then choosing a passive stream that actually aligns with them, whether that's an online course or throwing money into index funds. From there, you start small just to test the waters. But the critical pivot, the real game changer, is step 4, automating and systematizing it so it actually becomes passive. Once that's humming along, you simply monitor your results and gradually scale the whole shebang up.
I want to leave you with this final, absolutely vital question to think about today. If your active income stops tomorrow, how long would your passive system sustain your cognitive and financial health? Understanding the profound physical toll that financial hardship takes on our brains is just the first step. The next is taking real action to build the systems that keep you out of survival mode for good. Thank you so much for joining me today, Focus Learners. Assess your streams, start small, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.